In this edition of the Integrative Hermetic Health Show, we analyze some of the medical and biological reasons why, even when we know better, we have such a huge struggle against food addiction. But before we go into this, let's see what an investigative reporter, Michael Moss from the New York Times, found when he looked closely at the food industry.
2/3 of Americans are obese or overweight. A new book suggests food companies manipulate their products. The goal to make us buy and eat more. Michael Moss is a New York Times investigative reporter. He's the author of Salt, Sugar, Fat, How the Food Giants Hooked Us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How did they hook us?
Salt, sugar, fat are the holy grail for the processed food industry. And they know when they hit the right formulas, they'll just send us over the moon for their products. They're not just getting us to like their products, they're getting us to eat more and more. And that's why reporting this book for me was like being inside a detective story. Take salt. I mean, I used to think it was just a rock taken out of the ground, ground up. There are more than 40 types of salt available to the processed food industry. Everything from powder that goes into salty canned soups to chunks that hit your tongue instantly and create what the industry calls flavor bursts to go to your brain until you eat more.
That's sometimes like in potato chips. They must have that.
You just hit my first law. That is the
there's
food I
definitely
hate.
something in some potato chips when you eat it that make you eat more than one.
Absolutely.
You're a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. This book has been at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I was reading about it. Explain how the industry is doing this.
I use the A word really hesitantly, addiction. Some experts, though, will say that, look, some people will react compulsively to their foods. They have really smart scientists on staff who know how to formulate these three ingredients to the precise moment. So, for example, a person who invented a recent soda flavor for Dr. Pepper walked me through the process. And to get to the very precise amount of sugar, which he calls the bliss point, he came up with 61 variations of sweetness, put it to consumers, did his analysis, and the precise amount is what he came up with.
You characterize it as weaponizing their products. But
Yes.
Here is what we asked the food and beverage industry to respond to your book. They said, Michael Moss's work misrepresents a strong commitment America's food and beverage companies have to providing consumers with the products, tools, and information they need to achieve and maintain a healthy diet. Nothing, in a sense, to rebut what you're trying to say.
Look, I mean, I have 2 young boys. When we go shopping, these products are still on the shelves. My book is peopled with senior executives from the food industry. Some of them regret what they've done, and they're calling on the food industry to do more meaningful changes, because obesity is still rampant. These are big, serious public health crises.
Are you suggesting that the food industry is doing essentially what the tobacco industry did?
You know, the parallels are really interesting. And what amazing thing that actually happened, Philip Morris became the largest food manufacturer in the country and eventually began warning its food division people that it's going to face problems on salt, sugar, and fat and obesity like it did on nicotine. This was a decade ago. Obesity has increased since then. Again, I think it's incumbent upon the food industry to realize people really care about what we're putting into our mouths.
You do get the feeling that we have reached a tipping point with respect to the danger to our health from too much sugar.
Yeah, no, and people care, and that's why I'm hoping that this book is sort of empowering to people too. I mean, you know, when you walk into the grocery store, they're doing everything they can to make you make a spontaneous decision. So make a list and stick to it. The outer edges of the store is where you should spend more time, the fruits and vegetables, and so you should do that. They position those highly loaded products in the center of the store at eye level, so that's where you really have to be careful as a consumer.
Michael Moss, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Salt, Sugar, Fat is on sale now.
Looking at first-hand efforts to deal effectively with food addiction, we find that we are sabotaged because it appears that an outside influence, seemingly impervious to our will, strangely defeats us. Yes, microorganisms in the gut whose amount of DNA outnumbers the DNA in the human body by 150 to 1, exercises what appears to be a very powerful control over human willpower through the medium of the brain-gut connection. Again, we find the nature of bad bacteria in the gut, a portion of the body which consists of about 75% of the immune system, can lose a great deal of its proper functioning when bad bacteria reproduces sufficiently and dominates the beneficial microorganisms. But can this actually sabotage the human will? Dr. Rodier asserts that it can and demands that society should correlate the importance of dealing with food addiction on the same level as dealing with drugs, cigarettes, and alcohol. We then look at research about soda pop and the effect of both sugar-sweetened and artificially sweetened soda on the human body. If the tanks of soda in a soda factory are immediately surrounded by highly corroded cement floors, what kind of corrosion is happening in the body? Explore these and other exciting topics on this week's Integrative Hermetic Health Show.